Thank you. First of all, I would like to do something that I neglected to do in my opening, and that is introduce my husband, Bob, who is here. We will be celebrating our 25th anniversary in December if we make it through the election, if we're still speaking to each other by the time this is over. And I will tell you that campaigning is really difficult. I mean, it's grueling. You know, I'm up and out the door by 7 o'clock in the morning, and I don't get home until probably 10 o'clock at night. And I have to tell you a funny story. Last week, I happened to get through half of my day, including a women's leadership conference at St. Joe's Academy, and I looked down and I realized that I had walked out of the house with 2 different shoes on. Now, that's really bad, especially from my perspective, having a major in fashion merchandising. So I hope that you won't hold that against me. I would like to just add my comments to some things that, that Peter said, and that is that that I may not know how to field dress a moose, but I sure know a maverick when I see one, and Peter's not it. He votes with Jimmy DeMora 99% of the time, and that's a fact, and it's public record. And so, you know, he didn't vote for the sales tax for the MedMart. You know, that was probably Jimmy telling him, it's okay, you don't have to do it this time. And as far as private investment on the MedMart deal, there's still time to do that, but no progress has been made. Now, let's talk about the Ameritrust project. It is true that Peter voted to preserve the Breuer Tower. However, he voted to buy the property initially. And that's really where I think a huge mistake was made. Now we are stuck with this albatross. I'm sure you just read in the paper that K&D has just gotten an extension on trying to get their deal put together. We should never have purchased that property in the first place. So whether or not it is preserved or not, whatever his vote was, it's just really not even relevant. But the most important thing I think that we all need to take away is that we have full-time issues to deal with in Cuyahoga County. I mean, just read the paper from this week. It's devastating. And by his own admission, Peter spends 6 to 8 hours a week at the county office building. This, to me, is unacceptable. Everyone is suffering. We need a full-time commissioner to deal with our full-time problems. And I don't understand how, you know, I'm a manager. I supervise 140 people. I don't understand how you can manage from an office down the street. You've got to provide leadership, and you have got to be there, and you've got to be visible. And so to me, I think that is absolutely an outrage not to be there. And finally, Peter, you didn't answer my question. What have you done to address the corruption and the patronage that's plaguing our county?
Thank you, Candidate Sutherland. Mr. Jones chose to use his entire 10 minutes in the first time through. We will now return to City Club and Angie Kazi for some brief City Club announcements.
Today at the City Club of Cleveland, we are listening to a debate between the candidates for Cuyahoga County Commissioner. Now we would like to proceed with the question and answer portion of our debate. Holding microphones today are City Club Development Director Jessica Allen and Assistant Development Director Marcella Brown. Let's return to our moderator, Rick Jackson.
Thank you, Angie. We will now have the traditional City Club question and answer period. There are rules for this as well. Questions addressed to a specific candidate will be answered by that candidate with a 1-minute limit. The other candidate may also comment for 30 seconds. Questions addressed to both candidates will be answered with a 1-minute time limit from each. As moderator, I reserve the right to ask any candidate a follow-up question or ask for clarification. Those responses also will be limited to 30 seconds. To the audience, thank you in advance for asking your questions, and please make your questions questions. State them as briefly and clearly as possible. The first question for our candidates, please.
My question is for Commissioner Jones. Commissioner, my comment relates to the plain dealer endorsement and the fact that they stayed you hardly show up for work. Given the worsening economic conditions, shouldn't a commissioner be more hands-on and be there in this critical crisis facing Cuyahoga County over the last few years?
Thank you for that question, because it's going to give me a chance to respond to a question that Debbie posed. First, you cite the plain dealer endorsement. I believe that my opponent announced that she has received 3 endorsements. I have a list of about 22 that include a number of prominent organizations, and including the Call and Post, CoolCleveland.com, Sierra Club, and a number of others. I work, once again, here are the points. Number one, that I put in 60 to 70, often more hours a week. That 95 or more % of that time is devoted to county business, that I practice very little law. So why you might ask, do I conduct a lot of my business, county-related business, out of my law office? For a couple of basic reasons. Anybody who, first, the job of the county commissioner often takes me to a number of meetings throughout the county. On any given day, I probably have 2 or 3 meetings at a minimum outside of any office where I go to meet with people where they're at. In addition to that, I have to wrap up. Okay, well, I'll have to find a time to finish that one. Okay.
Ask both the candidates to do watch Mr. Foster. He will have the time for you. 30 seconds, Mayor Sutherland.
Thank you. Again, I just have to reiterate that I don't see how anyone can really effectively manage without being in the county. And so I just find his explanations unacceptable, and I think that it's a way of circumventing the sunshine laws.
Thank you. Next question, please.
This is to Mayor Sutherland. In pre-voting early, I found, to my surprise, there were 2 commissioners on the ballot, Commissioner Hagan and Commissioner Peter Lawson Jones. How did you decide to run against Commissioner Peter Lawson Jones?
That's really a great question, and one that I have probably been asked more than any other question during this year of campaigning. And the answer is that in really looking at who I thought I could beat, Peter, I thought, was much more vulnerable. He, in the 2004 election, received about 164,000 votes less than Tim Hagan. And I also had to look at the future at who I was going to be able to partner with and get deals done with. And to me, it was, I would have a better shot with Tim. He would be my second vote. He's got a history of working with Republicans like Jim Petro, and so that factored into my choice.
I will take the time to do a follow-up question there and then give Mr. Jones 1 minute rather than 30 seconds. Have you talked to Mr. Hagan about this? Have you, I know it's during the election season, but have you had conversation?
Well, during this election season, I think everything is kind of off limits. So, but I get along with Tim very well, so we'll be able to work it out.
Mr. Jones, 1 minute. First,
It's my determination that you not have the opportunity to see whether or not you'll be able to work out a relation with Tim Hagan. Let's make no mistake about it. Tim Hagan is supporting me in this race, number one. Number two, my opponent has said that she's running against all 3 county commissioners. And Tim is quite aware of that. He's quite aware of the criticism that you made when you said that after meeting with him, when you were trying to pitch an idea that you knew the county commissioners couldn't afford, that you determined that you were going to run run for county commissioner. Tim is most aware of those. He and I have a great working relationship. We don't always agree on issues, but I think that's healthy, and I think that that's constructive. And so, make no mistake about it. I'm going to be there come January the 3rd, and number 2, Tim and I will continue to work together for the advancement of this community.
Thank you. Next question.
Commissioner Jones, maybe a month ago, I read an article in the Scene magazine recounting a story that you'd been approached with a bribe early in your public service career, that you turned down the bribe, but that you never reported it to the police. I'd like to know, is that story accurate? And if so, why didn't you report an illegal bribe to the police?
Yes, the story is accurate. 2, I knew that I was being tested to see if I was subject, amenable to being bought, to being bribed.